Welcome back to what Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a Cromwell. It's a tier 6 British medium tank. It's located on the north spawn of Fisherman's Bay, and this one is under the command of Brit on the NA, God bless USA. Now the Cromwell is a tank that was actually devised, or they started work on it in 1940. Unfortunately it didn't have the experience of the tankers who've been out in the desert, who could have told them that flat surfaces don't work in tanks. In fact, actually, when the first tankers of the Desert Rats came back to Britain after winning in Egypt and in Tunisia and Libya, of course, and they saw this tank and thought, has no one been listening to us? Because of course all those flat surfaces are easy targets for the enemy tanks to get a good pen on their vehicle. It's fairly mobile, 64 kilometers an hour top speed, 20 in reverse, and it's got a decent gun as well, but it depends on which one he's actually loaded here, so we'll have to see which one he's got. He's got the 75mm, okay, 135 alpha, 145mm of pen, and a reasonably fast reload time as well. 3.74 seconds standard, 3.64 in the game so far. And oh, it's got a target there, the 5916, which of course is the Chinese light tank. Ow, he does get around into us. Be careful. We'll try it again. I think he's got a 76mm gun. Or is it the it's not the 75. Might actually be the 57. But he's actually getting holed by quite a few. He's ended up in a tier 7 game and he's tier 6, so he does have the opportunity to earn XP. But it seems that he's losing hit points to quite a few people. The one that hit him, the Scorpion, was actually the tier 7 American tank destroyer who's got a 90mm gun. The good news is that their team's actually doing rather well because they've actually managed to get 4 kills on the enemy, so they've got a 3 tank advantage. So the enemy's been a bit careless. They've thrown away a few tanks. I fear that the tanks they threw away though are not on this side. Well, there's a few in the centre. There's one over on the far side. Oh, now that Viz 44 exposed his rear. In fact, you can get a shot into his rear, but he's not aiming for the rear at the moment. He's aiming for the turret. The guy's pulled himself into cover now. The good news is the enemy lost that 5916, and he was the one who was spotting Brit, as we'll call him. And in fact, our guys have gone straight through the enemy town, and now he's in a position where he can snipe at that Viz if he has to pull back, and he will have to pull back soon because he's coming up against an enemy heavy. Or one of our heavies rather, 2 heavies. Now you can do his rear, just. And the kill shot comes in from the Cromwell B on our team. Now the Cromwell B is just basically the same, it is the standard Cromwell, but it's the one that actually raced to Berlin, part of the Desert Rats. Everything else about the vehicle is very similar. Ooh, there's the Burt, the FB304. And he's auto-aimed on. That's not a good idea. You're best to aim just slightly ahead of it. And that happens. He got it right there. Blew the Amarak. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. Oh dear. YouTube are going to have a go at me for that, you know. And he's got another kill. Well, I was quoting a film, not being profane. Okay, he's got himself into a nice position. There's a box tank, SU-100Y. There's one in the side. Can he get another one in? Yes, he does. And he gets a patrol duty as well, so being the only one spotting 6 enemy tanks. But he has to stay in cover for a moment because that SU-100Y was looking in this direction, although he has pulled back now. The enemy are being kettled into the southwest corner of the map. And I think he's trying to get to a position where he can actually creep up on them without getting shot at. There's the Super Hellcat, but he's behind the bunker at the moment. So somebody else on our team does have eyes on him. What we don't have eyes on is the box tank at the moment. There's the Scorpion, the tiny little tank with a 90mm gun. No armour, 1mm, that's all it is. Any shell that hits it does damage, unless it hits the tracks. Now, somebody did spot him there, and I suspect it was the box tank who spotted him, because he is fairly close. And the enemy just lost their Hummel. Yeah, I think it's that box tank is going to be the problem. Keeps getting spotted by it. The Hellcat. Now, where's that box tank? There he is. He's close, but he's down to 13 hit points now, so he's no longer a threat. That's the threat. And he gets a nice chunk of that Super Hellcat. Remember, that guy's got fairly weak armor as well, 12.7mm. So he's very, very vulnerable to shells. Okay, now it's probably make a quick charge across the bottom end of the map to come up alongside that KV2 and then charge into the enemy area. Our guys to the north don't seem very keen about moving south. Only that T25-2. And that seems to be because the Scorpion has actually moved further north. He's trying to come in from an angle so he can actually get shots. He's not skirting the KV2 and coming in by the hedgerow. He's decided to go right to the very end. Now that may be bad news, because I think that the Super Hellcat is going to be covering this way. He's right up against the edge of the map here. Now, the enemy's bound to be watching this direction. They could probably have an idea of where the KV2 is, but it's just not firing at it at the moment. If we go through these hurricanes, we're going to get shot at. I still think it'd be much better for him to go behind the KV2, shoot up along that hedgerow, and then get past the KV2, and then there's only a short dash at the end of that to get underneath that bank. And whilst he's on that dash to the bank, if enemy tanks try to fire at him, his teammates will be behind him, will keep them suppressed. The T25-2 has finally moved up. He hasn't found the Scorpion yet. Arty's actually moved up quite a bit as well. They've come up to the centre of the map. There, he's got the Super Hellcat. So he must have opened fire. We get a nice hit for 150 fired. One more shot. Yes, he got him. Good. 3 kills now. Now remember, Brit on the NA uses nothing but standard ammo to do his game. I think it's kind of more the fact that he thinks that the game can be won using standard ammo. And it's true, it can be won using standard ammo, because he does do it. Well, should be able to pen that Scorpion. Oh, lovely shot, long range, leading the target, but he was spotted, and the tank who's aiming can't hit him at the moment. He's right up against the edge of the map. He dodged that one. Unfortunately, the KV2 is now looking at him, trying to put a leading shot into him if he can. I think he just got suppressed by our KV2. One shot in. Can he go for another? Decided to get on the move. Get underneath the bank, and they can't hit you when you're low down. He tried, but he failed. And the KV2 did fire suppress that KV2, and so it did work. And now he gets up here, and now he can start blasting the guy in the side using auto aim. And the KV2 is down. It just leaves the Chi 2. It's the only tank remaining. He gets one hit by the Chi 2, but he can now just put one more round into the engine bay, and that's the end of the game, and it's a victory. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was an ace tanker game for Brit on the NA. God bless USA in the Cromwell. He managed to get a demolition expert because he blew the FV304's doors off, and a bit more. He also got a spotter badge By the way, that's from the Italian job, by the way. And he got a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a fire effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills in, he got 4 exactly, a bruise medal for getting at least 5 critical hits, he got 5 exactly, and he got a Hand of God because he survived the battle having received damage from at least 4 different enemy tanks. And look at that win rate, very high indeed, 5,404. Super Unicum standard and a bit more. And remember, that was all done using standard ammo. No premium ammo was used at all. Let's have a look at team score. Well, he didn't get the highest damage in the game. Actually, that went to the T25-2, but he didn't get 20%, so he only got a Confederate out of it. 2,372 hit points of damage went to the T25-2. The second highest damage actually turned out to be Brit on the NA with 1,799. And he just beat the Viz 44-1 on the enemy team. He got 1,792, so 7 hit points in that. When it came to kills, though, he definitely got the highest with 4. 3 kills went to the FV304 on his own team, and the Chi-2 on the enemy team. And 2 kills went to the T25-2 and the Super Hellcat on the enemy team. When it came to base XP, he definitely got that one, so he's got the top in 2 columns. 1,220 went to Brit on the NA. 970 went to the VK3002D and 842 went to the T25-2. He was the only player to get over 1,000 in that game. 33 shots fired. Not bad considering you only get 75 rounds of ammo. 13 shots direct hits and 13 penetrations. So every shot actually went through. And that just goes to show that standard ammo does work sometimes. 1,799 hit points of damage, of which 924 were at more than 300 meters. 5 hits received, 4 penetrations, 1 non-penetration. Most of the damage was done to his tank, or at least half of his damage was done at the start of the game. And he was on the receiving end, virtually all of it. 75 hit points blocked by armor, 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 4 killed, 2,324 hit points off spotting assist. On a free-to-play account, he earned 32,190 credits for the game. 3,000... Oh, I'm doing repair and ammunition. I don't normally do that. But anyway, he took away a profit of 25,270 credits for the battle. 1,220 base XP times 2 for the first victory. Took away 2,440 experience points altogether. A very good game, actually. His tactics were spot on. I would have actually used that tree line where the KB2 was located to get close to the enemy, because once you're underneath their guns, they have to pay attention to you, because you can pop up at any moment and start shooting at them. But it's only to rely on your teammates to suppress the enemy fire. He got a lovely shot on that Scorpion at long range, and of course on the Super Hellcat, and took him out, and that was a serious problem. That 90mm gun on the Super Hellcat can really be a problem for your teammates in a game like this. But he got that guy and hit the Scorpion, took away most of his hit points off that one. Yeah, in the end, actually, he contributed a lot to that battle, and keeping those enemy lit to his teammates, so they enabled them to get some kills as well. And of course, he still got a massive win 8 out of this one. I hope you enjoyed that replay. Oh, before we go, actually, I should have a quick look at the model, the armor. Yes, it's always useful to actually have these in the game, because then you get to see how thin it really is. That red looks good, but it's not really. It's 76.2, but it's flat, so he's only getting 76.7. So just about any shell's going to go through that. That's flat as well. Only 63.5 millimeters. So again, any shell will just about go through. The only angled armor you're looking at here is on the front, and it's only 25 millimeters angled heavily enough that you can get 33 millimeters out of it. And the lower plate, well, that is very low and very thin, but it's only 25 millimeters angled enough to get you 36.2. So you can see, I think the designers made a bit of a boo-boo here. What they could have done is, just like on the T34, they could have had this plate extending angled all the way up until it gets to this point here. And if they'd done that, they still would have had masses of extra room on the front plate area, but it would have been angled at such a level that they would have been able to bounce shells off the front of this tank even if the armor was only, what, 35 millimeters, because it would have come out at something like 50 millimeters of armor, much like the T-34 in many ways. But they were still thinking in old terms of flat armor at the factories, so they didn't actually think about, oh, well, let's put angled armor in here for the reason of actually trying to bounce shells. You can see at the sides of the vehicle, it's only 44.5, so you're getting about the same. It's all flat-sided, very, very bad. Easy to manufacture because you basically just have to have a box frame, but it's very bad for the crew inside if you get a shell that gets purchased, because it normally goes straight through. Engine deck 14 millimeters, generally thin to actually let the heat out as well. The top of the turret is only 20 millimeters. Size of the turret 63. Now remember, the thinness of the armor on this tank is actually because, although it's slated as a medium, it's also a scout tank to a certain extent. It's not down in the books as a scout tank, but what they wanted is they wanted these Cromwells to go out and find the enemy, so that the Shermans and the Fireflies could then deal with the tanks, the enemy tanks, once they found them. These were the fast tanks moving about the battlefield at speed, whilst the Shermans and the M4s, the Fireflies, were relatively slow in comparison. So yes, and most of these Cromwells, if they ever caught sight of the enemy, they'd hide if they could. Either that, or they'd try and return as quickly as they could, passing the information, or they'd just go into the bushes, arrange the camo, and just go silent, except for broadcasting the enemy position over their radio set. But yes, they didn't really want to go into combat with the enemy because their armor was just too thin. You can see here, just about any shell that hits this thing is going to go through. Let's have a quick look at the modules. That's better. Okay, driver on the left-hand side, it's a British tank. The gunnery, the machine gun operated gunnery is on the, or radio operator is on the right-hand side on this one. We've got the gunner on the right-hand side, the tank commander directly behind him, and the loader feeding the breech on the opposite side of the tank. The tank commander's got the radio behind him. It's not really a bustle as such, but technically speaking, I suppose you might say it's bustle. And you can see where the ammo racks are. They're directly behind the driver, which he can't be too happy about, but that's actually the ammo store, the deep store. This is the store that they actually use for the loader uses. He uses some ammo racks which are actually so the shells are readily available. Just pull them out of the basket at the base of the turret and just shove them into the breech. But the game has just put them in one big block in the hull itself. In the engine, well, engine in the center, 2 fuel tanks either side, transmission behind, standard configuration for most allied tanks. It's a bit odd that the driver and the commander are all basically on the same side, because if the shell goes through the front of the tank, it's going to take out 2 crew members with one shot, and this is very bad news. So yes, I don't think I'd like to ride as a crew on a Cromwell, but certainly it was an interesting tank in terms of its speed and its ability to maneuver around. But yes, I think I would be a bit worried. And you can see why some tanks actually did put plenty of extra armor in the form of either tracks or kit bags and everything like that on the outside, in the hope that they would take the force of the explosion or the shell hitting them rather than going through and killing them. So that's the Cromwell on the modules. So I hope you enjoyed that replay. I've got plenty more to come. In fact, actually, I'm trying to get through as many as I can at the moment. Because there are so many that have been sent, and please appreciate if you are waiting for your replay to get to it. I do have them all. I keep them all. I do them as quickly as I possibly can and try and rack them off one after the other to get them all out. I did have a bit of a slow day today. I had a double replay to get out. That was the 212A one, but hopefully I'll have much more tomorrow. And I've got to do a whole batch for our sister channel, which of course you know is the general World of Tank replays. All of those replays contain pools medals, and or either that or something even greater like a Racine Heroes medal. And so if you do see those ones, you can possibly see a lot more people are now watching that channel, and some of the videos are getting 200 to 300 views, mostly the replays concerning the Barasks and the Progettos. And I think that's because people want to see how you do it in a Progetto or how you do it in a Barask, because they like those particular tanks, and so they find those battles interesting. But it certainly is very, very fun to watch a tank kill 10 enemy opponents, and especially if you see more than 10, because you often see 11 or 12 as well. So it's not just restricted to 10. However many tanks over 10 they get, we normally see them. So yes, do pay attention to that channel. Not all of the replays are great, but certainly it's amazing to see how some players actually manage to score phenomenal victories in tanks that you wouldn't really think is capable of doing that sort of thing, but they do. So thanks very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like, do subscribe to our channel, and see you in the next one.